has been written about it. There's a lot of literature on public-private partnership, which is okay, but this is not the way. So typically, if you're a small firm working, let's say in Uttar Pradesh or Punjab, you will not get a contract from the Indian government unless and until you pay some goose. So that government firm interaction is a very interesting research area, and the whole strategy is around it. Because if you look at the management literature assumes that we have free markets and free will free markets and free will entities. But when you have a government intervention in the way you do the business, the theories of free market and free will interventions fail. Okay, hello, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you really have to focus on. You just cannot say I'm doing PhD because strategic management is a very abstract topic. So you have to pick one thing, very niche, very interesting thing, and then start writing on it. You start publishing articles on it. Start writing your newspaper articles. Start collecting your databases. If your research area is quantitative, is it qualitative or quantitative?
So far, sir, I'm just thinking about the dynamic capabilities, as you said, dynamic capabilities, particularly
Is it
related to this digital transformation side. So, so far, what I have reviewed is a lot of research has been done based on various methods. On quantitative side, structural equation modeling has been used a lot, and on qualitative side, case study research methods, simulations. These are the methods uh, which are extensively used. So this is what I've researched so far. I'm yet to move further.
okay? So that's good. If your area of research is digital strategies and dynamic capabilities, you do a literature review for the last 3 or 4 years using those two key terms and the intersection of dynamic capabilities and digitalization, and see what kind of articles you find, and then you start developing your then you start write a review paper. Basically, you write a review paper within those two key terms, and the end of the reviewed paper would be 3 or 4 interesting research questions that would be formed the part of your PhD. That's how you do it. And that also answers Ritika Chopra's question, because literature review a qualitative, a quantitative. You can honestly you can write the literature review either as a qualitative or a quantitative. Really, um, you can. It's an exploratory research paper. So an exploratory research paper can be presented in a quantitative setting or on a qualitative setting. It really doesn't matter in the end, because what you want to see is the trends. You want to see how the research has been structured, what are the trends in the research, how the research is taking its knowledge from different fields, and what are the future possibilities. Now, you can write this thing either quantitative or qualitatively, your call. Is it conceptual? Conceptual articles are more theory intensive, and the review articles are not theory intensive. So I don't think it's a conceptual. It can be a qualitative paper or quantitative paper, but it's surely not a conceptual paper, a review paper. Any other questions? Someone has a question, please feel free to ask me.
Uh, Professor Agarwal, actually, there was some technical issue, so the participants were late to join. So if you
Yes.
can repeat a few slides,
Yes,
then
sure.
it will be great beneficial for all of us. Thanks a lot.
Okay. So I just discussed that it's very important for you guys, for everyone, not just you guys. To know what is a research field. Uh, and within the research field, you have to be specialized. The more specialized you are, the easier it is to publish in top journals, and also make international networks, because people are specialists and they want to interact and work with specialists, because they know that if there is a upcoming research problem, only the specialist people would be able to answer it early and faster than people who are generalist. So it's very important to be at the top of the field, very specialist. What is a research field? Research field is a population of people with similar research focus, shared literature, shared research questions, and shared conversations. So uh, when you get into research, don't think everyone is an Einstein. People are very normal. They're not Einsteins in a research field. Research is a longitudinal process. That is, you build your reputation over a period of time. You don't. So it's very important to ensure that you are liquid. You have a decent amount of money, because it's a longitudinal process. You build your reputation over a period of 20 to 30 years. It's a long term horizon. And your reputation means you work with the government of India or any other government. You work with international institutions. You people know you. The moment people write your name on Google, everything is visible about you. It's a very public process. You're a public person, and you have the downside is you have a conversation with very few people in research. So you're having a conversation. So mine is social entrepreneurship. I'll be talking to people like Alex Nichols, Kai Hockerts, Shambhu Prasad, who is in India, a known researcher. If my research field is strategic management, and assuming within strategic management, I write a lot on open innovation. So I'll be talking to Alexander Osterwalder on open innovation. I might be talking to Tucci, who is a professor on open innovation. I might be talking to a professor whose name I forgot his name. I forgot his name. He's at Berkeley. So similarly, if my research area is corporate social responsibility, then I'll be talking to Mette Moon, who is a known professor in corporate social responsibility, Julie Patilana, Johanna Meyer. They're all specialist researchers. So you have a conversation with the specialist researchers, and you try to figure out the weakness in their work, and then try to add a little bit of what they have left. And that's basically is your research contribution. And this is how you develop your research area. So it's very important when you start your PhD. You have to first decide what is my research field, and within that research field, who are the top researchers, what are they writing. And when I say what are they writing in the last 3 years, last 3 साल में वो क्या लिख रहे हैं, you have to know that. And then in their research paper in the last 3 years, you have to figure out what are they missing, or what is something, okay, what probably is their weaker point, or what probably is what wrong they have mentioned. Maybe you can come up with a new interesting insight around it. That basically forms your PhD. Typically all PhDs are like that. So it's very important. You need to understand your research field, what constitutes respectable research and respectable contribution. Typically, a research article would be a structured conversation among a research community. So a research paper is a conversation. If you look at the style of a research paper, it's more or less like a conversation. You are having a conversation with a researcher, a global researcher. A global researcher can be a researcher in US, in Europe, or in India. And there's a rules of the game. The conversation has the rules of the game. You have to be respectful. You cannot outrightly deny the person or belittle the person. You have to be respectful to the person. If you disagree, you have to point them why you are disagreeing with the person, and then what new insights you're bringing in order to disagree with the person. And your agreements and disagreements have to be written in a Aristotelian language, so to say, or an Oxbridge English, with an Aristotelian form. Why Aristotelian? Because Aristotle is known philosopher of didactics. So the art of conversation was pretty much written by Aristotle, and we still follow that art of conversation. And a research paper is more or less like an Aristotelian conversation between two people sitting anywhere in the world. Now, articles can be divided into three forms. You have a quantitative article, qualitative article, and conceptual. Quantitative articles, like most of the medical articles are quantitative articles. Typically, they would use a panel time series data. They would they would be, or they would be using simple statistics or more complicated statistics to figure out the problem in the applications of drug and its impacts on the human being. Quantitative articles are the most common research articles. They use panel data, survey questionnaire, time series, structural question modeling, confirmatory factor analysis, cluster analysis. They might also use simulations, experiments, mathematical modeling, hypothesis development testing, theory and assumption testing. Qualitative articles typically use content analysis, historical analysis, thematic analysis. They might have case studies, single or multiple case studies. They can have intensive interviews. They typically have a proposition development, model development, framework development. No, major difference between qualitative and quantitative is you do qualitative research to get novel insights. Not every field has qualitative research. Very few fields have qualitative research. Management is one field you have qualitative research. You can have quantitative research in medical science, but typically in management. So for instance, you want to design, you want to understand how children interact. So children who are suffering from cancer interact with their physical spaces. Okay, so that is a very qualitative research question, very specific. So, or old age people who are over 80, living in an old age home. It's a very specific question, research question in Europe. And so you want to design a building for old people over 80. Now, how do you want to design it? What things you have to keep in mind? So it's a very design thinking approach. Now, that kind of a research is a very qualitative research in medical science. You cannot do a quantitative research. You cannot do a testing on people who are over 80, who cannot think or who are suffering from dementia. So not every field has a qualitative setting, but like for instance, physics, absolutely no qualitative research possible. Or mathematics, not possible. Or chemistry, not possible. In medical science, in certain things it is possible. So where you see the determinism is very low, where there is a lot of influence of socio-economic factors, institutional factors, or psychological factors, you see qualitative research coming in. While if you see that in any with interacting elements of a research question does not have socio-economic factors, institutional factors, psychological factors into picture, you have a quantitative paper. Okay, so typically strategic management, multiple strategic management is human beings inside them. Human beings are driven by socio-economic factors, by psychological factors, institutional factors. You have organizations are completely driven by institutions. And so the possibility of qualitative research is extremely high, while in areas where you have absolutely no possibility of socio-economic, psychological, institutional factors, you will only have quantitative research, or a conceptual research. An example of such is mathematics. Mathematics is absolutely indifferent to psychological, socio-economic, institutional factors. Hence, you will only have a quantitative article or a modeling article or a conceptual piece in mathematics. Same goes with physics. It is not driven by humans. Same goes with computer science. Absolutely no, or electrical engineering, or material science, because you don't have human beings there. Don't have psychological, socio-economic factors. While if you have a socio-economic, psychological factors, you write qualitative articles also, in addition to quantitative articles. What is the conceptual pieces? Conceptual pieces are it's You can have in any field a conceptual piece, uh, and a typical conceptual field example, like from strategic management, you would have Harvard Business Review, Sloan Management Review, California Management Review, Academy Management Review. These are all journals who specialize in conceptual pieces. They give you thought experiments, they give you ideas uh, that are conceptual but equally relevant in the field. Okay. And now, typically, you look at this triangle. The triangle has three elements: research question, data, theory, and or assumptions. Now, all research paper are driven by this triangle. When I was doing my PhD, my professor always used to talk about this triangle: research question, data, theory, or assumptions, especially in management field. Now, in physics, uh, this might not be so relevant, but in management, these three things. Why? And why you see, if you look at the arrow is bidirectional. It is not a unidirectional arrow. It means that none of these three things are fixed in a research paper or in a research. All these three things keep moving and keep adjusting to each other. So you might have one research question, you collect data, you figure out, oh boss, the data does not really answer my research question, but the data is interesting. So you tweak your research question, and then you figure out what are the assumptions behind your research question that drive your research question. Then you tweak your assumptions. Now, typically, assumptions and theoretical modeling can be same or different, depending on which field you come from. So this triangle is very important, and this triangle is a dynamic triangle. That's why you have bidirectional arrows. Your research question, your data, and your theory assumptions each can change at the last minute. So you have to be cautious about it. Okay, so typically quantitative research would have a research question, would have an independent variable, dependent variable, control variables, would have a data set, would have a direction of causality. Now, direction of causality can be determined through experimentation, through theoretical causality, or through database causality. It would have assumptions and it would have hypothesis. Now, typical elements in a quantitative uh, research. Now, what is a research question? Now, every research starts with a research question. It is very important to know what is your research question and why, and then discuss why your research question important. Now, firstly, so when you're writing a research paper, it's always good to write your research question in the first two lines of the paper. So the reviewer, when he's reading, is clear immediately कि वो पढ़ क्या रहा है. ये ना हो कि introduction के end में हो. So it's always good to write your research paper in the first two or first three lines, and then the introduction is completely about why your research question is important. What makes your research question interesting? And so it's very important to have a valid research question. A research question should be doable, should be writable. You have thought of a research question कि मुझे तो आज नोबेल प्राइज मिलने वाला है इस रिसर्च क्वेश्चन में, तो बस मैं ये रिसर्च क्वेश्चन लेके चल रहा हूँ, पता चला you can't even get a data. So your research question should be pragmatic, should be doable. So research is also about pragmatism. You don't do research because आज मुझे नोबेल प्राइज लेना है. You have to be pragmatic कि मुझे आर्टिकल छापना है, and I have to kind of I should be able to do it. So it should be pragmatic, and it should be relevant. It should be in the conversation with other researchers. So assuming your research area is so can you please write down your research area so I have more context. I can add context to my conversation. Can some of you write your research areas or research questions, please? So, yes, fellows, if you can write your research question in the chat box, then I can make the conversation more interactive. Yeah, Kamal, can you please be more specific in the banking sector, because banking sector is quite big. You can have multiple things in the banking sector. Can you be more specific in the banking sector? Okay, so that's good. So you guys are mostly into management only. Oh wow, that's good. This is great. Okay, uh, this is good. This is good. So let me go through these questions. Yes, Minu, Professor Minu wants to know about the target journals and how to select good journals. Ma'am, it's very important. So firstly, you need to. Can you tell me your research question, ma'am? Minu, ma'am, what is your research field?
Sir, it's HRM, that is impact of HRM practices on retention of employees.
And how are you collecting your data?
I have already done it, and it was on textile industry, and primary database was the study.
So what exactly did you do in the data? Like what data क्या है? मतलब, is it a quantitative data, qualitative data? You took interviews,
Yeah,
or
so
you had
it was a quantitative data collected with the help of the questionnaires.
okay? And what kind of questions were you asking? How many questions were there? What kind of questions were you asking?
Basically, it was related to factor analysis and all. So, on the various HRM practices, the questions were there, and we wanted to know the
So
satisfaction.
सो सी नॉर्मली मैंने जो आर्टिकल्स मैंने पढ़े एचआरएम पे जो लो रैंकिंग जर्नल्स में होते हैं they only have one construct, so they have a one major construct and then you have multiple 4 or 5 construct that are उनके जो arrows होते हैं ना वो उस main construct को point out कर रहे होते हैं. So you have only
Yes, sir.
have a, like you have kind of a one major construct, then you have sub constructs and you have arrows pointing to that major construct. तो वो जो आर्टिकल है वो आपका
Yes, sir.
आर्टिकल बी जर्नल ए और ए स्टार में तो नहीं जाएगा. You need
Okay,
to have
sir.
a more complicated model. So you need to have a more conceptual or more rigid model. Only then you can aim for A and A star journal. So it's very important to know कि if you can bring in more theoretical constructs into the HRM. अगर आपके पास सिर्फ बाय ये दो मॉडल्स है कि आपका लेट्स से एचआरएम प्रैक्टिसेस एंड इनोवेशन, अब इनोवेशन लीड्स टू बेटर एचआरएम प्रैक्टिस, अगर आपका ये मॉडल बन रहा है तो आपका पेपर फिर नहीं जाएगा कहीं भी. ठीक है, बिकॉज ये सबको पता है इसमें नया क्या है.
बिल्कुल. It's
तो नया
evident.
करने के लिए you have to add moderating and mediating factors, and that makes your paper interesting. That's even harder to do research on. And once you have a moderating and mediating factors, then you can aim for better journals. तो आप A or B, then you can aim for A or A star journal. Without moderating and mediating factors, you cannot do it. ठीक है, तब आपका B और B से नीचे रहेगा. मैं सीधे बोल रहा हूँ आपको, तो I'll be very open on
Right.
it. ठीक है, because I've seen it. Normally B और C में जो articles होते हैं, they only have two things और arrow इधर जा रहे होते हैं, and then नहीं जाता यार. ठीक है, so you have to be really focused on the mediating and moderating factors, and then ensure why a given factor is mediating and moderating, and then the article can be published in top journals. On top journals के सबको पता ही ranks. I mean, you know the names of human relation, human resource development. These are top journals. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
and if you are not confident, then you'd work with a senior researcher on that. So a senior researcher who has published in top journals can guide you. So never work alone. Research is not an alone thing. You have to work with a senior researcher. So if you know someone, let's say, I don't know where you base. So if you know someone, a good researcher who is working in your field, who is published in top journals, and who have developed a complicated model, a more refined model, having mediating moderating, like someone from IIM Ahmedabad or मुझे पता नहीं IIM के बंदे कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं prof publish आजकल, बट आप देखो उनका आजकल जो मिड रैंकिंग रिसर्च होता है वो पब्लिश करता है इंडिया में. मिड एंड लो रैंकिंग रिसर्चर, मतलब कि असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर, वो पब्लिश कर रहे होते हैं. फुल प्रोफेसर मुझे पता नहीं पब्लिश करते ही नहीं करते. तो फुल प्रोफेसर का काम मत करना, बिकॉज वो पब्लिश नहीं करेगा, वो आपसे काम करवाएगा. So better you talk to some assistant or associate prof who is published in AAA Star Journal, and you work with them in collaboration. Obviously, you will be subservient to the person because he will ensure that you work for him. So he'll be second author, you'll be first author, but you'll get the job done. But work with professor. Don't work alone, because alone it will be very difficult for you. You work with a senior researcher, and that person, he or she will guide you towards A. So if that's your area, yeah, that's how I say. Um, yeah,
Okay, thank you, sir.
pleasure is mine. So please explain. So it's very important to know your research question, because everything is guided by the whole research paper is guided by research question. When you have your first meeting towards writing an article, the first thing that you discuss in your meeting is what is your research question. Because अगर आपको पता ही नहीं आप कर क्या रहे हो तो क्या करोगे, ठीक है. So पता होना चाहिए करना क्या आपको. जो research question is what you have to do, and research question should be, so there are two types of research, two or three types of research questions. There is a why research question. So let me write it down. There is a why research question, there is a how research question, there is a what research question. I think there are three types of research question: why, how, and what. So why research questions are typically quantitative research questions. How research question is a qualitative research question. How this happens, why this happens, typically becomes a quantitative research questions. What is also, what can be both qualitative and a quantitative research question. So so it's very important how you write and frame your research question. So is it a why question or a how question or a what question? Because your why question would be specifically quantitative research question. So why kids under the age of 5 have a higher learning capacity than kids over the age of 5? Now that is a typically quantitative research question. In that case, you would do a research on the kids under age 5 and over age 5 and give them certain learning problems. And then you would do a T statistics to figure the difference between the two age cohorts. So why? Another why question: why Indian firms, why Indian CEOs are better at managing managing corporations than American CEOs. Now you would do a cohort analysis of Indian CEOs, American CEOs. Now yesterday I was discussing an interesting research question because I play cricket. Is that does cricket give you? Does is also do or does. Does cricket makes you a better leader? Now this is a better corporate leader. Does cricket make you a better corporate leader? I was kind of fascinated by the research question. I don't have time to do it. Now this is a very quantitative research question. So you would do CEOs, global Indian CEOs who are very good cricketers, or you used to play cricket in your schools. And then you would analyze, you do analysis. Are they good CEOs or not? Why they are good CEOs? And see if there is an influence of cricket on the CEO skills. So typically, Pichai and most of the American corporate America CEOs from India tend to play cricket a lot. So it's very important how you write your research question: how and what, how, why, what, and do or does. And so do question is also a very quantitative question. Why is also a very quantitative question. How is a purely qualitative question, and what can be both qualitative and quantitative. Please explain what has been written about the research field and research question. So once you have your research question outlined, it's very important you write your research question in the first 2 or 3 lines of the paper, and that basically guides everything. Your literature review will be driven by a research question, your method will be driven by your research question, your data gathering strategy will be driven by your research question. and then your analysis. All of it is driven by your research question. Now, here's the catch. What's the catch? The catch is you can have an interesting research question, but you don't have a data. What are you going to do with it? पेपर पब्लिश तभी होगा जब डेटा होगा. Without data, paper publish नहीं होगा. आपका काम ही खत्म नहीं होगा. So you can have an interesting research question, but if you don't have a data, or let's say you are lazy, like I'm very lazy, so I don't like to work too much. If you are very lazy, then you have to ensure that you have an interesting research, but you also need to have a data, because you can have a question, but you don't have a data, then there is no point. So you have to be pragmatic, that you choose a research question such that you have a data. If you have a data, then then everything is okay. And so there's a possibility that you might start with an interesting research question that is kind of mind-blowing, but you don't have a data, then you have to tweak it. So you need to know, I have a research question, am I getting my data around it or not? If I'm not getting my data for the given research question, change the research question, write your research question according to the data. Very important. Otherwise PhD खत्म ही नहीं होगी और issue लगा रहेगा. So or frustration आ जाएगा. So it's very important to rewrite your research question such that it matches with the available data. Okay, because at the end of the day, data matters. So you can start with the research question, because research question guides everything. But there's a possibility that for your particular research question, you are not able to get the data, and you have a data of something else related to the field, but something else. In that case, it's better to rewrite your research question such that it adjusts with the data available. Now this kind of issue happens typically in quantitative research setting, not in qualitative. Qualitative research setting mein to you can have your the idea of qualitative research is to go into exploratory mode. So you have a research question, you have an exploratory mode, you go out in the world and you figure out the answers. So in qualitative research setting, you can have more interesting and more theory driven and more insightful questions, which is not possible in quantitative research. The quantitative research is really kind of constrains you in your imagination because you are driven by data. So very important to know here, what is my research question, what is the data available. If it's possible that your data is not available for the given research question, you change your research question immediately without investing too much of time. You have a great research question, you are not able to get data, then you will get frustrated, and then paper complete nahi hoga, PhD bhi complete nahi hogi. Very important to know that. Please explain what has been written about the research field and research question. Now, your research question comes from your research field, because as I said, research is a conversation between two people or multiple people around the world. So once you have a research question, you look at what has been written around that research question, and that becomes your body. And like, your research question certainly has to add value to what has been discussed around that research question. So for instance, so performance of banks in respect of diversification. Now, it's a very interesting research question. What is the performance of banks when it comes to diversification? So diversification of services of banks, or diversification of operations, diversification of risks. What do you mean by diversification? So typically diversification in a corporate setting is two types. Three types. One is you have a geographic diversification in order to hedge your risk. You have a diversification in products and services in order to hedge your risk. And you turn your company into a group company. So you have multiple operations to diversify your risk. So when you say performance of bank in respect of diversification, you have to be more specific. What do you mean by diversification?
Very good morning, sir. This is Professor.
Good morning.
So basically, the diversification here I mean is the diversification of their investments and diversification of their income. They're basically a product of. Basically, it was like a product.
So,
It was like an income.
and
There-
what is the paper? Have you read any paper on diversification of banks?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
tell me one paper on diversification of banks on investment side?
On asset side, it was a
So
less, but
when you say,
on income diversification, there are more paper. On asset diversification, there are
okay,
less literature is available.
okay, so okay, look, see, I come from management literature, so I obviously find all these questions quite interesting. Um, if your research question is really the diversification of banks, you have to really go dig deeper into what you imply by diversification. Is it about risk management? And what strategies firm can take in managing their risk? So assuming the risk is, bank, I mean, whatever the risk, how you define. So you have to define the risk, then how do you manage your risk through diversification strategy, and within that you can go into more details. As you said, you want to focus on, assuming you want to focus on investment diversification of banks. Now I don't know how you want to define and what kind of bank, whether public sector banks or private sector banks. Public sector banks के बाद कोई होता ही नहीं है उनके पास कुछ भी डाइवर्सिफाई करने के लिए बेचारों के पास. They are completely driven by government. So you really have to dig deeper, and assuming you want to focus on, as you said, investment diversification. So you have to discuss in your research paper the literature on investment diversification, nothing else, only on investment diversification. That's it. What has been written about investment diversification, and you can break down your literature on investment diversification. Three things: the research questions answered, the theoretical models used, the data used. Now, in these three things and the geographical locations, you can also look at geographic locations. What geography, the geographic location would come into data only. So these three things, and then figure out what are the weaknesses mentioned in these three things: the research question, the theory, and the data. Now, once you figured out what is the weakness mentioned, that would be your research question, and you would write. I'm assuming you're focusing your research on India, and so obviously you would take what has been written and you would write in the context of India the impact of diversification investment portfolio. No, you can write this paper completely using mathematical models of diversification strategy, mathematical models. There are multiple mathematical models. You can use it, or you can write a multiple case studies also, in my opinion. Or you can, if you can get the real data, which I think is quite hard, you can use that also, really. Another area, yeah. So guys, do you guys have any questions? Please feel free to ask questions, because then it would make the whole conversation interesting. And if you think this is the way I speak, I can speak a bit slower if you want. If you want me to speak fast, I can do that also.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I just want to ask one thing, because in India, whenever we conduct some kind of research, we usually use the location, that is contextual differences.
Yes, ma'am.
We say that some model has been tested somewhere in US. We replicate the same model in a different context, that is India.
No problem.
Usually we do
it.
such things. But what
There's
can we
nothing
do
wrong.
about the gap with regard to theory, with regard to data especially? What kind of gaps can we identify with regard to data or
Give me
theory or
example, ma'am.
research question?
I'm not. So see, it's perfectly fine. See, the way I look at it is that you need to develop your skills. Okay. And there are multiple ways of developing your skills. And one way of developing your skill set as a researcher is to replicate the American study in Indian context. It is perfectly fine. Because once you have developed your skills, you would be able to do better things and be more confident. So it's very important कि आप बच्चे को तो बोलोगे नहीं ना कि PhD थीसिस लिख दे. एक छोटा सा बच्चा होता है, वो पहले चलना सीखता है, लिखना सीखता है, पढ़ना सीखता है, 12वीं पास करता है, BSc पास करता है, फिर जाकर वो PhD करता है. So research is also like that. You have to learn the nitty gritties, the bricks of it. I'm also doing that. I don't have access to all the data. I'm in India right now. I mean, right now I'm in Germany, but normally I work in India, and so it's hard. So you have to build bridges, and you have to do small steps. It's perfectly fine. Now, how do you? What is the second part of your question, ma'am?
So it was related to, like you said, that your research, like when we review the literature, we need to identify gaps. And with
Yes.
regard to data, what kind of gaps can we identify?
With with regard to data, of course, location specific gap can be identified in the data. Now, the thing, data is no, it's you need to understand here is that you need to understand what kind of data has been used. You cannot find a gap in the data. So, for instance, if there is a study, what is your research area, ma'am?
So my research area is HRM.
Human resource management. So,
Yeah.
you need to understand what is the data has been used, what kind of data has been used, because in the end, you would use the same data or same type of data. You cannot find a gap in the data. You have to use the same type of data. So that's why when you're writing your review, you have to mention what kind of data other researcher has used, because you will only be using the same data. You cannot, if a researcher use CEOs and you're using students, then you will not get the right answer na. So if the American researcher has used CEOs for their study, you have to use the CEOs for your study. You cannot use students for your study. So that's why I said you have to mention the data. You cannot find gaps in the data. It's very hard. You can, of course, so if the research has been published on students, then you can go one level up and say the following research has been published on students. Students have XYZ complications. We want to test the same research on CEOs. Then it makes sense. But if a research has been published on CEOs and you want to replicate the same study on students, it's not going to work out. That's not a good research. So that's something you can figure out the weakness. The other is, if the data set is completely American, then you can have a completely Indian data set. It works very well. If the data set is only American, so only global north, what global north means developed countries, European and American. So these are global north countries. Now, global north countries have a very structured, very manicured data, which is not possible in India and China. So if you have a research on Indian and Chinese companies, it's good. It works very well. Also, thing to understand is that when you said to figure out the weaknesses in the data, yeah, I mean, this is what else. So the IVs and the DVs cannot be changed. What is an IV? Independent variable. In the DV is dependent variable. So when you're replicating a study, the independent variable and the dependent variable remains the same. You only change the context. And then you see the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable when you control for the context. That's very important. So that cannot be changed. Now, figuring out the weakness in the theory. Now, I don't know what theory you're using, but you can always challenge the theory used. It's very easy. It takes time, but you can always challenge. It's like it's like a fighting with your friend. He's your friend, but you're still fighting. So challenging a theory is like that. Theory is right, but you can still challenging it. You can still challenge it. It's perfectly okay.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Again, explain why a research question is important, how it adds value to the research field. Then once you have your research question and you know your data pretty okay, you can break down your research question into 3 or 4 sub-research questions that should directly add to the research question. Now you can have a sub-research question 1, sub-research question 2, sub-research question 3. And those 3 or 4 sub-research questions will give your hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3. In the case of qualitative research, it will give you proposition 1, proposition 2, proposition 3. So you can really break down the research question into sub-research questions. Now, each sub-research question can be explained in 2 to 300 words. Why sub-research question is important, who wrote what in the sub-research question, what was missing, and how you are answering that sub-research question 1. Now, sub-research question is also your hypothesis. So specifically in hypothesis developmental, when you're developing the hypothesis of your paper, you're typically breaking your research question into 3 or 4 sub-research questions. And those 3 or 4 sub-research questions are your hypothesis. I'm sorry, my daughter is wake up, so I'm going to move to another room. And so once you are clear about your research question, you break down your research question into 3 parts. That would also become your hypothesis. Now, it's very important to keep in mind the research question is driven by your data. You have to be clear what is your data. And your sub-research questions should get its answers from the data, especially in the quantitative setting. So you have more flexibility in the qualitative research setting, but in the quantitative research setting, you have to be focused on so you have to focus on data, because your answers will come from the data only. So you play this politically right. So you have to be politically correct here, which means your research question should come from the data, or your data should completely reflect the research question. And your 3 or 4 sub-research questions should get their answers from the data only. You cannot be outside the data. Very important. Otherwise, it will not work. Yeah, any questions on this slide? Yeah, so Mr. Robin Kaushal, Dr. Robin Kaushal has a research area in e-banking services. So very interesting research question on e-banking services. Why? Because a user interface on electronic form of services is a wide area of research. So many publications are happening on e-banking, and how you want to design your e-banking, privacy laws around e-banking, click laws, all those things are very, very interesting. So certainly very good research area to work on e-banking services. It's an upcoming field, very interesting. So while you're writing your hypothesis development page, you have to be very clear about your independent variable, dependent variable, and control variable. Now, because it's important to know how your dependent variable dv, how your dependent variable dv is dependent on the IVs, independent variables, and how control variables are changing the relationship between the dv and the IV. So that has to be clear, and that has to be that's a standard quantitative research process. So you have a regression equation with the IV, DV, and CVs, and you do the analysis, you get the result, and you present the result in table forms. Your IV, DV, and CV are driven by what? Driven by your sub research questions or your hypothesis. So hypothesis A would say DV is dependent on IV1, IV2, IV3, and negatively influenced by CV1. This is your hypothesis 1. Your hypothesis 2 is DV is dependent on IV1, IV2, and inversely or follows a U-shaped relationship with CV2. DV is dependent on IV1, IV2, IV3, IV4, but IV6 gives an inverse relationship on DV4, on IV4. So these are all your hypotheses that comes from the data. Typically, in the quantitative research setting, I'm focusing on in the quantitative research setting, the game is between IV, DV, and CV. Whatever you do at the end of the day, you have to write in your words how your DV is influenced by IV and CVs, and what relationship the IV, DV, CVs are having. Is it an increasing relationship? Is it a high correlation? Or is it an inverse correlation? Or is it a U-shaped correlation? That's the only 3 correlations you have. You have a correlation or an inverse correlation, you have a U-shaped correlation, or you have no correlation. And that's basically your research. Your hypotheses are written between 3 things: DVs, IVs, and CVs. CVs are control variables. You need to know what is your data set. Is your research question driven by data set, or your data set is driven by research question? This is a very important thing. If you look at top universities like Harvard Business School or Harvard University, MIT, Columbia, Oxford, the advantage these universities have is they have large databases. तो आपको कहीं बाहर नहीं जाना पड़ता. You have the database on your table. All you have to do is analyze the database and publish. While in small universities, you don't have databases. आपको फिर बाहर इधर-उधर घूमना पड़ता है. And it becomes very difficult and frustrating. And then you cannot aim for top journals. So that's why I'm saying it's always good to learn the nitty-gritties during your PhD in India, and then you go abroad for getting more specialization, getting hands-on. It's perfectly fine, nothing wrong in it. Never feel that you are never feel that someone is less than the other. It's just that the circumstances and the context makes it look like that. That's it. So that's one disadvantage, that small universities, even IIM. So if you look at the IIM PhDs, IIM Ahmedabad, so I only follow IIM Ahmedabad PhDs. IIM Ahmedabad PhDs don't publish that much. Very few publish. And most of the guys who are in IIM Ahmedabad, they're publishing in fact, IIT. In fact, I would say IIT Kharagpur PhDs are pretty good. They publish good journals. But IIM Ahmedabad PhD that I have had a chance to look at, तो normal PhDs होती है उनकी. They don't even the profs are not publishing that much. So that is so don't think like that. I mean, you have to learn the nitty-gritty. So research is not always publishing. Research is also learning. It is also learning to write. It takes many years to develop the skill of writing. It's about thinking like a researcher. Takes many years to develop that skill of thinking like a researcher. So all these skills don't need you to be in the top university. You can be where you are, develop that skill, and then move in the top towards a top university. It's perfectly fine. वो कहते हैं जज्बा होना चाहिए. अगर जज्बा है तो फिर कोई मतलब ही नहीं. Then you will do whatever you want to do in life. The best example is learn from Gagan sir. He is the best. I've never seen somebody as motivated Gagan sir. The best inspiration you guys can have. Learn and talk to Gagan sir. Okay, another important aspect of your research question, research paper is your data set. You need to know what is your data set. Is your research question driven by data set, or your data set is driving the research question? These are two different aspects. Typically, people push you to have an interesting research question, and then they will push you to get your data set. Now, if you are at Harvard or Oxford, that's very easy because they have data set like anything. Table पर data set पड़े होंगे आपके. So very easy to get a data set. But if you're not at Harvard or at Oxford, and then a professor asks you, find an interesting research question, then get a data, then you will get frustrated because it's very hard to get a data set. So it's very important to be pragmatic. First, you get the data set, and then you write your research question. And how do you write your research question? As I said, a research question has an IV, independent variable, a research question has a dependent variable, a research question uncontrolled variable. अगर आपके पास ये तीन चीजें हैं data set के अंदर, then you can write your research question. It's a game between IV, DV, and CV. And your sub research questions will also be a game between IV, DV, and CV. So when you're writing your, if you look at the paper, any research paper, you have a hypothesis, and then after hypothesis, you discuss your IVs, independent variables, dependent variables, control variables. Oh, no, you discuss your data set. So first, in detail, you discuss your data set. You describe what is the data, from where you get the data, what the data is talking about, and then you discuss your independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. Very important in the research paper. What are your independent variables? So that comes in your method section. Independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. You discuss them, why and who, and when you're discussing your independent variable, control variable, dependent variable, you have to also discuss what has been written about those variables from your literature review section and your hypothesis section. So in your hypothesis section, when you are discussing, when you are developing your sub research question into hypothesis, you will be citing certain researchers who have already worked around that field. Okay, so when in your method section, when you are developing your IV, DV, and CV and your data, you have to again cite those researchers and cite how they have used that data or their IV and DV, and how you are using your IV and DV. Then your paper will become extremely robust. Then you can aim for A or A-star journal. Who all have used the similar data or extracted the data from the same source? What are the major variables, readings of the data set? Do you see any IV, DV? No, this is a difficult process. Honestly, it takes time. First up, you get the data set, you clean the data, you make the data structured. Then you have to figure out what is IV and DV. That's difficult. The other thing that you can do, what you're doing for your small projects, is you create your own database. That is also interesting and doable. You can do that. You can create your own panel data set. And Gagan sir has already taught you that, how to create your own panel data set. If you can create your own panel data set, in that case, as I said, you have to discuss in detail the sources of data and who all have took data from those sources. You cannot take a data from a source where nobody has taken data from. So if you're aiming for top journals, it's very important that you take a data from a data source that is legitimate. So Professor Solomon Nathaniel, he if you remember, he discussed a lot of data sources, UNO, World Bank, multiple internet. So those are very, very highly reputed data sources. Government of India. So anything supplied by the government of India, whether you like it or not, is considered legitimate data source by the government of India. So anything that is mandated by the government of India or any other government organization of the world is a legitimate data source. So when you take data from those sources, it is fine. But if you take a data from, let's say, if you take a data from a newspaper, that may or may not be considered legitimate. So for instance, you take a data from Punjab Kesari or Dainik Bhaskar, that may not be considered a legitimate data point. However, if you take data from Financial Times, FT, so FT database, FT or Economist, that may be considered, or NYT, New York Times, that might be considered legitimate data. But taking data from Punjab Kesari or Dainik Bhaskar or Dainik Jagran, it's a bit dicey. Because they at times they publish controversial data points. कुछ भी लिख देते हैं वो लोग कभी-कभी. So now, if you want to publish in top journals, you can take data from existing data sources, or you can create your own data set. Now, if you're creating your own data, so you really have to have a very interesting research question. And creating your own data takes lot of time. If you are up for it, it can take 1 year. So it takes at least 1 year to create your own database with readings of around 2,000 or 3,000. So you have a reading lines of data around 3,000, plus you have a columns of 7 or 8 columns, 8 variables, and 3 control variables, 11 columns. So 11 into 3,000, so it's almost 33,000. 3,000 na karo, let's do less. Let's do 1,000, or yeah, even then it becomes 11,000 points of data. So that might take 1 year, but then you can have 2 papers, minimum 2 very, very, very good papers. Certainly A, you can also write A star with that kind of a data. You can do that. Any questions?
So may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
The first question, sir, I would like to ask is that you talked about independent variable, dependent variable, and then control variables.
Yes,
Could you
ma'am.
please explain what are control variables first?
So gender
Yeah.
is a control variable. You
Okay.
can control the gender, and then you can see how the relationship changes. Country context can be a control variable, can be a independent variable. Your call in it. It can be both. It can be control, or it can be country. Can be a control, can be independent variable. Education can be a control variable, can be independent variable. Really, it's your call.
No, but then
So yes, ma'am.
how do we use them? Like, I mean, when we collect the data, suppose we also give the demographic profile of our respondents. Like,
Yes,
if we say gender is one of the control variables, then we do report that these many males and these many females were there in the as the respondents in my sample. So, but then after that, what is the role of this information?
Ma'am, so you can certainly see a trend how gender influences a decision making. So I'm from management. Management is about decisions. How so let's assume female, the presence of female members in the boardroom, does it increase empathy or not? Now, I don't want to make any political conversation right now, but if you look at the global leadership around the world, so in a global setting, boardrooms or cabinets which have high percentage of women leaders or decision makers, they tend to have higher empathy than if a boardroom is purely men. Men are more boorish, they are more ambitious, they don't think about the people, they only think about the men, while women are more empathetic, they think about the people, they take decisions, ensuring that everyone is taken on board. And so the decision criteria is different. So that's an example of how women might influence boardroom setting and boardroom decision making. Okay, that's one example of gender, because I come from management. The other example of gender would be entrepreneurial teams. So typically, I mean, one theory that you can then you can say is that the entrepreneurial team is a very hot research topic, because companies which are highly innovative. So if you look at Google has a very unique culture of entrepreneurial teams. So they have they have entrepreneurial teams which work on a very specific research project, and they tend to deliver that project in a specified amount of time with the best quality work. So entrepreneurial teams is a very important research topic. Normally, if you look at the team data says more diversity. Diversity means better team. While the same may not be true for entrepreneurial teams. Entrepreneurial teams may not like diversity. They want to be people who are the same. They really want to work on a very specific problem, and they don't want to bring in people from outside, whatever. So no. Now, what I'm trying to say is that so one research question: gender diversity increases team performance. No, gender diversity. You can research for gender. So you have a 5 people team with 3 women and 2 men, 5 people team with 2 women and 3 men, 5 people team without any women. Is a research question you can explore, and then you can have gender as an important factor answering the questions.
Okay.
Does it?
Right. Yeah, right, sir. Thank you so much. And I want to ask another question also.
Yes,
Like
ma'am.
you discussed, that while we are framing the hypothesis, while we are developing the hypothesis, we need to read and then cite the previous literature, which is similar to our work, which we are proposing in that paper. So, like,
Yes, ma'am.
suppose there is one independent variable and then another is dependent variable, which I have, I am hypothesizing that this has an impact on this. So I'll try to find out the literature, the papers, researches or studies which are similar to that, which are also using those two variables. Now,
Yes.
because I do need a literature support for developing my hypothesis. But then the thing comes that if already there had been researches or studies which have studied the relationship between those two variables, one as dependent and another as independent, already
Yes,
if
ma'am.
there are studies existing, then what will be the contribution of my study? Then how am I finding out that research gap? What is the novelty of mine? And if I just take two variables on which no study has happened so far, probably may not have come across that kind of a study, then I will not find the literature support. It will be difficult for me to
No,
formulate
no, no,
the
no.
hypothesis.
That's yeah. No, this is see. Yeah, you are. This is what people think, but this is not the way it works. So you obviously have to have literature that has the same IV and same TV. But when you do your data analysis, you might find a different result. Okay, and then you can explain why your result is different. That's a contribution.
But that will come later when the results will be there. And most of the times, the result might also be similar to the existing studies. If the existing study says that there's a positive impact of this on this, probability is that my study may also give the same result, that this has a positive impact on this. So the results are not differing, one, and the results will come later. First, I am going in for the hypothesis development, and then also, like you said, in the
No,
first
but ma'am, just sorry to interject you, but in the purely data-driven research, you would know your research before the hypothesis, because you cannot write your hypothesis without knowing the research. In a purely data-driven research setting, you need to have a data first. If you look at any researcher around the world, they first work on the databases. So they are night and day, they are only trying to find how their database is. Once they see some trend, then they write their research paper. It's that way the things go. You never, in a data-driven, in a qualitative research or in a survey questionnaire, it's a different thing. Because in a survey question, you have a flexibility. But in a question, but in a data-intensive research, your data drives your research question and your hypothesis. But if you're doing a survey questionnaire, then of course you can kind of do your hypothesis. But so look, I'll be brutally honest here. If you're doing something similar and you're getting the same result, you will never get into top journals.
This is
You can
what
finish it.
this is what the question is, sir. No, okay. If we do not give the literature support, the existing similar studies, then the hypothesis development will be difficult. And if
No,
there
but
are already
ma'am,
studies,
ma'am, the point is, if you're publishing in top journals, they would anyways, the reviewer will ask you, why are you citing these papers? Okay? And if your research is not novel, it will not get into top journals, because they only publish top novel research that builds on the existing literature. So you can get a publication, not an issue, but you will not get into top journals. In order to get into top journals, you have to have a specific contribution. Now you need to find the contribution. You need to find the contribution. If you're using the same IV, same DV, and you're getting the same result, but assuming that the research earlier was done in American context and your research is done in Indian context, it's fine. That's a contribution.
Okay, so if we change the context or maybe the population or something, then that is okay. That is the contribution. That is something we are doing. Okay.
But to keep in mind, one thing given, so assuming the earlier research was done on students and you do your research on corporate CEOs, perfect. But if the earlier study was done on CEOs and you do your research on students, not done.
That is okay. That is understandable. That it should be replicable to that population as well. It must be relevant to that context.
Yes, because ultimately, you write your research paper, management, for entrepreneurs, for CEOs, for managements. So your data should come from their foci.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I mean, but you cannot, you have to have a novelty, because otherwise very difficult to publish in A and A star journals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And get citations. Right. So who you are is defined by citations.
Right. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure is mine, ma'am. Any other questions? Happy to take them. You also have to be clear about direction of causality. Very important when you're designing your hypothesis. Is it so that thing has to be cleared? So there are multiple econometric techniques to check for causality. You can use them. I'm not going to discuss them. I think Gagan sir has already discussed them. Now, one of the best and the easiest ways of publishing in top journals is theory. So if your research is grounded in a theory, it has a higher possibility of publications. Now, I don't know what theories. So can you guys give me some ideas of what theories you are using? Can you write down the theories you are using in your research in your chat box, so I'll get an idea. So one of the guys said that they are using dynamic capabilities. Now, what is a technology acceptance model? I never read about it. Let me check. Technology acceptance model, Davis. Oh, okay, Davis. The theory that models how users come to accept and use the technology. Fantastic. That's a great model. Yeah, technology acceptance model. This is great. And SurveyQuel is a very standard model. So these are so SurveyQuel you apply. Yeah, SurveyQuel is a very standard model for measuring services in different contexts and settings. I think that's a perfect. I don't have anything to say on that. And Pooja, I think theory. Leena Anand, technology acceptance model is fantastic. So no, there's already a model that is given by, so I'll just talk about the Leena Anand, ma'am. It's given by Davis, Bergozzi, and Washoe in 1989. If you look at their model, if you can add something, if you can bring in some interesting context, so they have external variables. Now, if you can list 3 or 4 unique external variables here, then that's a paper. That's already one paper. If you can bring in certain moderators or mediators in this arrows, it's your paper. It's a unique paper that you can build onto this. If you can check this model in Indian context, again your contribution. If you can check this model in gender specific context, again a paper. So you can have multiple articles using technology acceptance model. I think that's yeah. And so if you really focus on the uniqueness about theory, so there are 2 things in research. One is the phenomena, and one is the phenomena, and the other is theory. So what's the difference between a phenomena and a theory? The difference is phenomena is context specific. Theory is context independent. Again, phenomena is context specific. You cannot, so if you do your research that is theory driven, so let's say you phenomena driven, then your research cannot be generalized in other setting. While if your research is theory driven, it's universally accepted. A theory in India, a specific theory, technology acceptance model is a theory that is equally valid in India, equally valid in Africa, and equally valid in United States. While a phenomena which is valid in India may not be valid in United States. So that's why I said that if you write a research paper with a focus on publishing in theory, then that paper has a wider audience, because the theory is theory. It's आपको खाना खाना है, you will eat food whether you are in United States or in India. So theory is like that. Theory is valid in every country. It is not country independent. Your work, it can be. So it is possible that you see the certain statements of a theory are not valid in India. Then that's your contribution. And then you have to make suggestions how to ensure, or you have to figure out. So, for instance, cervical model. Cervical model is a very, so if you look at the cervical model is a standard set of questions that you apply to measure the quality of service. Now that cervical model questions are valid everywhere in the world. You use that cervical questionnaire whether you're in the United States, Africa, Europe, India, China, you would use the same set of questions. And so it becomes easy for a researcher to get into the conversation of those researchers who are already using cervical model. And now, so for instance, the research of Professor Robin Kaushal is e-banking services. And he's using cervical model. And he's using cervical model. And he's not able to measure certain things using cervical model in e-banking. So that could be an interesting contribution. Then he can get into the discussion with a researcher, fellow researcher in the United States or in Europe, who is doing using cervical model in the same sector, and then write a paper together on the problems of using cervical in e-banking services. That will be a A-star or A journal article. So then, that's how you kind of write top journals. Does it make sense, Mr. Robin?
Good afternoon, sir. Robin this side.
Oh, sorry. I thought. I'm sorry.
It's
Yes.
okay, sir. It's
So, yeah.
okay. Sir, I have done my PhD on e-banking services while taking the Cervical model, right? So I have done my PhD 6-7 years back. So if I want to make little modification in that by taking the Cervical model, so my query is, can we edit a model if it is already a standardized model and there are say 22 statements into it while having the 5 constructs? So if I want to make some editing or some change in that model, is it possible, or is it will be valid by the publisher if I do so?
Ma'am, you have to follow. So, if you look at the scale validation, it's a process of scale validation. मुझे नहीं पता है वो, पर जो मैंने सुना है, जो मैंने पढ़ा है, where you have to follow the scale validation strategy. If you follow the scale validation strategy, then the paper will be published in top journal immediately.
Sir, it's not
But
about
if you,
only Cervical model. If it is, say, a technology acceptance model or any other model, my query is that if there is already a standardized model, can a researcher make certain changes in that, or is it acceptable to some limit, or we cannot make any changes in that? We have to accept it as it is.
you can do it. No, ma'am. Initially, आप 2-3 paper. If you are now you are established researcher in Cervical, I assume. Okay, you can
Yes, sir.
certainly add new things into it. But if you want the global audience to cite you, then in that case you have to follow a proper validation model. Because
Okay.
global audience will cite you only when your model is validated. You
Right.
can do whatever you want to do. That is perfectly fine. But if you want the global audience, then you have to follow the validation process of a model,
Right.
and
Right.
then it's fine. That's the way. Cervical model is really good. You can
Yes, sir.
certainly add. You can add a lot of things into it. I mean, कहने का मतलब ये है कि you have a cervical model. You can add a mediator,
Yes,
moderator,
sir.
or a
Yes,
new
sir.
one more element to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
empathy, you can bring empathy in services. It's a big deal. Or design thinking in
Sir,
services.
empathy is already there in it.
And
Empathy is already into the Cervical. Yes, sir.
okay,
It's responsiveness, assurance, empathy, tangibility, and reliability. These are the 5 main constructs which is being given by Parasuram.
fantastic, ma'am. Of course, I mean, you can certainly do it, but you have to follow the standard. You have to follow the standard validation. So,
Right, sir.
since you have spent so much of your time, it's always good to talk to the top researcher that uses cervical model, and then share your ideas with her or him, and then develop co-author a paper.
Sir, the problem is that because
Don't do
already so much research has been done on Cervical model. I have done it in communication sector as well, and on banking sector as well. Now the problem in publication is that they are saying that what's new in that, because this is such an old model, and if you are bringing certain new specification into it, but there are not that many results which are which are tapping to today's industry or so, because the model's dimensions are old. So that is why I'm asking that how we can make a little bit change in that.
If you look at the last 3-year publications on using cervical,
Yes, sir.
you see what unique they are doing. You get an idea what unique they are doing. Maybe you'll get an idea here what different they are doing, because it's very important that you don't bring in your own personal bias into the model. You look at what the researchers are doing and try
sir.
to do something same, but figuring out the new in it.
Right.
I would say don't, like, कहने का मतलब ये है कि you have 5 or 6 scales in it, 5 or 6 items in it. You add 7th item in it. It's fine. But if that comes from your own experience, then it's probably not the right way of doing things. The best way would be you look at what other people, especially in A-star or A-star, Journal of Services or Journal of Service Marketing, look at what they are doing, what unique they have done, and then you do something unique around it. Then it's fine, in my opinion.
Right, sir. Right. So I'm trying to putting a mediation effect, like what is the impact of service quality on customer satisfaction. So customer satisfaction being a mediator, and then it leads to customer loyalty by putting SEM into that.
This is awesome. Then this is if you get this thing, then it's both a services paper and also a marketing paper, I think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah,
trying on that. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Pleasure is mine. Okay. So what is the result section? Result section should just present the result as they are, must have result tables, write in words the results, write how your hypothesis stand post data analysis, accepted or rejected, consider only, don't write anything over, focus only on p-values less than 0.05. P-values 0.01, 0.1 p-values, very difficult to sell across the journals. The journals are trained, the reviewers are trained to look at p-values less than 0.05. Discuss how your table is changed with respect to new IVs and CVs. Results section should focus only on the results and its implications on hypotheses and assumptions. Do not go into the deeper theoretical discussion in the result section. So result section should present the result as they are. You must have result tables, whatever tables you're getting. Discuss your result in the context of hypothesis. And do not go into deeper discussion. Deeper theoretical discussion happen in the discussion section, not in the result section. Result section should be around 600 words. Typical things in the result section can be consult the guidelines or instructions that the target journal or publisher. So I've written typical things that a result section should have. There are 5 steps. I'll share these 5 steps. I took it from the internet only. I'll share it with you guys and you can read it and we can have discussion tomorrow on this. Okay. I don't know if I had to discuss discussion section today or tomorrow. I think I'll be discussing this discussion section tomorrow. So I'll work for tomorrow lecture. We'll discuss the discussion section tomorrow then. Yeah. So I'm done with the lecture for today's. Any questions or anything you want to know? I'm more than happy to answer. So people, I am done with the lecture. If I may have Mr. Professor Gagan to okay, guys. I think I'm going to leave. We'll meet tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, please write it down, or I'm leaving. If you have questions, you can certainly email me the questions, and we can take the questions later on.
So if anyone is having any question, it's most welcome to ask. Otherwise, you can note down the question in tomorrow's section. We can ask the questions. If anyone is having any query, yeah, in the chat they are saying if you can share the email. Okay, we have already shared.
Okay. Okay, so then I'm leaving. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Sir,
Bye.
hereby
Just a minute,
on
sir.
behalf of all the participants of this workshop, I would like to thank Anirudh sir for this enlightening session, and I want to pay a heartfelt gratitude for all the things that we discussed, the concepts of theoretical building, and with the help of the practical insights. So it was really a very good learning experience. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure is mine. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.